Welcome everybody to the Entrepreneur Dojo. I'm totally excited to be sharing with you my friend James Renuff. He's going to be talking about a really cool topic. He kind of left a little mystery to me, so I can't tell you a lot of detail about what he's going to be sharing, but it's a way to make some money online. And so let's get started with James. Just go ahead and tell us about this strategy that that has worked for you.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of leave it open with you, Dave, because I wanted us to talk about it while we were live. That was
Cool.
kind of my main goal there. So there's so many ways you can make money online, and depending on where someone's coming from, sometimes they have a notion of, can you make money online? I had someone I was talking to the other day, and I was talking to them about courses, and they said, you can make money selling courses. And they just didn't know that that's something you could even do. And obviously in our world, Dave, we know that clearly that is a way.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about periodically through the Entrepreneur Dojo, some of the things that I've done. And one of the things that I did that was really interesting several years ago is I made thousands of dollars, but specifically multiple five figures as an affiliate for what they call pay-per-call. So many people may not realize this, but there's a lot of people out there, and I was one of those people at one time. I spent a lot of my focus on it, where I was getting paid whenever someone would call a phone number. Now, the thing you might think of is like, you're thinking like 1-900 numbers or something, like, are we talking sports betting and stuff like that? It's like, no. In fact, I was getting paid for 1-800 numbers. See, that was the beauty of it. And that's what I loved about it so much, is that I was getting paid for people to call a phone number where they weren't charged anything. See, there's so many different levels of marketing, but you can think of something as potentially being difficult when you have to get someone to pull out their wallet. Some might argue that's a very difficult thing to do. But it's not as difficult when something is free. So what I would do, so there's these different CPA networks, cost per action is what it's usually referred to, where you can get paid when people do certain things. Like they could get paid for submitting a zip code, or giving their email address, or performing some kind of action, maybe signing up for a trial. And I know you're familiar with this, Dave, but I just want to kind of set that premise for those that aren't. And one of these kind of little known things is that, again, you can get paid for phone calls. So these different quote unquote CPA networks. If you did a search for a CPA network for phone calls, you would see some of them out there. One of the ones I did, one was CJ, or Commission Junction was a big one. And there's a lot of other ones. And a lot of times the back end is a company called Ring Central. But the bottom line is, there are companies that are out there that know their numbers, they know their metrics, and they know that if I get a phone call, I meaning the company, if I get a phone call, let's say for insurance, that insurance phone call to me, if I sell insurance to someone, car insurance, that may be worth, the long-term value of that customer may be worth X. I'm just coming up with a number. Let's say $1,000. Maybe a customer's worth $1,000 to them for a policy that's $100 a month. Well, they know that on average, they're going to close X amount of people. So maybe a phone call to them is worth $50, but they're willing to pay $14, let's say, for someone like me to drive a phone call to that number.
Right.
And it was absolutely beautiful because, again, I was getting people to call numbers. So how would I do it? So one of the things that, and I drove numbers to all, or calls to all kinds of numbers, but specifically at the time, my big one was Allstate Insurance. So Allstate Insurance, again, was paying if I get someone on a phone call, and I believe they had to stay on for maybe a minute and a half, something like that. Mm-hmm. They had to stay on the phone. Don't quote me on that. It was like a minute and a half, 2 minutes in order for me to get paid. So I started saying, well, how are some, so I was given a number. In fact, I was given typically about 5 to 10 different phone numbers that were my numbers, my 1-800 numbers that they gave me, which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so, but the thing is, when someone calls that number, they don't know it's James Renuff's number. They're just looking for insurance, right? They don't care about me. They're just trying to get to insurance. So I'd say, well, where are some ways that I could get phone numbers in front of people? And I do a lot of free strategies and paid strategies. Well, at the time, one of the things that was out there was Yellow Pages. Now, Yellow Pages, for all intents and purposes, is kind of dead, but they had a Yellow Pages online. I think it was called yp.com at the time.
Yep,
well,
that's right.
You could pay for advertising, and I could pay, and it was like an algorithm. You bid on what you're paying, but I could pay, let's say, something like $3 for a phone call, and they had to stay on the line for, let's say, 15 seconds or 20 seconds, something like that, for me to get charged.
Hmm.
So I played the numbers game, and people typically were staying long enough that if I was paying on average $6, I was getting 14. Just became a numbers game, and I was only getting charged if someone actually made the phone call. So that was what
Wow.
was beautiful to me, was that, okay, I'm only getting charged if it's not for a click. I was going for a call. I was one way that I really ramped it up. Another way was with Google. I did ads, and they had Google ads to call, just to call ads. I forget the actual name of it. Again, it was a numbers game, and I put in different terms like you use their tool, and you could see, oh, such and such insurance, car insurance, and I put all the just different keywords, again, numbers, put in the value that I want, and I was only getting charged when someone made a call. So I was, again, I was using money to just play a numbers game. If I put $1 in, can I get $2 out?
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's how I got to
Arbitrage.
do it. Yeah, arbitrage, true arbitrage. So I was just finding everywhere I could go to put numbers. And then I started doing some free stuff like I forget the names of the sites, but there was one site where it was like, I think it was called gethuman.com. In other words, when you call certain numbers of certain companies, people get frustrated. I know I do, when it's like, you have to push one, and then, are you English or Spanish, or are you this, and do you want someone in sales, do you want someone in support, and like, you have to go through this whole tree. Well, this site would kind of tell you how to get to a human the fastest. Well, I was putting my numbers on that site, so it's like, if you want to get car insurance, go to this number, and I was putting my number on there. It
Wow.
was free. People were finding it. So I just started trying to find everywhere I could to put my number. I would make comments on YouTube videos, people talking about insurance. I'd be like, oh, well, I could really get through if I called this number. Just little places that I could put my number. And again, the average person out there has no idea that this is going on behind the scenes. And most people, quite frankly, wouldn't even care. It's like, look, I call this number and I'm getting to Allstate. I don't care how I got there. They shouldn't care if I'm getting paid. But the fact is, they didn't even know I was getting paid. They had no idea this is even going on. So it just made it so beautiful, because when you're selling something, sometimes, or most times, you're dealing with customer service, you're dealing with refunds, you're dealing with support and all these kind of things, technical issues. I didn't have to deal with any of that. All I had to deal with was getting people to those phone numbers. So it was fun, and I did all kinds of things, like it was insurance. I did things like drug rehabilitation centers. I did things for people that were different companies, you name it. They were just trying to get leads. I would provide those numbers, and just like anything, I get, even though I was making money, I get bored and I move into something else, and I like to try different things, and slowly over time I kind of got out of it. But at one point in time, I would consider myself a super affiliate in pay per call marketing.
Wow. That's amazing. And so you did like 26,000 a month doing that?
Yeah, I think 26,000 was the best month I ever had. I had other months
Wow.
in between, and 10,000, and ramping up and so on. Um, and it was fun, man. Just and it was just thinking about, where can I just put numbers, and making YouTube videos, and just everywhere I could think of, I could um, get a number, either through myself, through social media, or from sites, directory listing sites, all kinds of directory listing sites that I don't even remember the name of, but places that I would see numbers being placed, I would put them there.
Yeah. Now, if I'm watching this, James, I'm going to be asking you, okay, does that still work today? Like, are there still pay per call services out there? And what would you say are some good current ways to get these phone calls, get people calling these numbers?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. The CPA world is a big world. A lot of people don't realize how big that world is. So, for example, Groupon was basically built through CPA marketing, um, along with many other businesses, and so, again, getting paid to be built up. So it's a big thing. If you look up CPA marketing, if you never had a chance to look at it, it's a huge deal. In terms of phone calls, absolutely, it's still something. I mean, think of it this way: you don't even have to necessarily look at it in terms of a CPA network. The great thing about a CPA network is that they already have their relationships with these companies, um, where they want these leads. But you can do the same thing yourself. So there's companies out there where you can get these 1-800 numbers, or even local numbers, for very cheap. $5 a month, something like that. Well, if you're good at getting leads or find a way to get leads, and there's many ways you can do that, you can set up your own kind of system. So for example, if you made YouTube videos and you're able to rank YouTube videos for a given search term for a local area, and it was for plumbers or whatever, and someone called this phone number, as soon as you start getting those phone calls, you could redirect that. You call a plumber, call a bunch of plumbers and say, hey, I'm getting leads. What would you pay for a lead for a phone call?
Yep.
Oh, I guess I'd pay $10. Okay, go to the next guy. What would you pay? I'd pay $12. Okay, I'm going to start sending you leads. Let me send you 3 or 4 phone calls. You don't have to pay me. If you like these, I have it all tracked. Again, there's all kinds of systems that can do this. I have this tracked. And then if you like it, then it's $12 a lead and I'll charge you at the end of the month. There you go. And
Yeah.
you had a free YouTube video was doing it. That's just one simple strategy. But the point being, you're the one that's procuring those calls, and then you're getting paid because you brought that to someone. And once someone gets those leads from you, there's a high probability it's going to stick.
Oh yeah.
You know, what do most businesses want? They want new leads. And if somebody already knows the business, they're going to call them. So these are people that they don't really know who they want to go with, for example. And there's some industries that pay crazy money, like restoration companies. So if someone's basement's flooded, they're not messing around. They need someone right now. So those types of companies are on it when a call comes in. So there's a huge business in terms of bringing companies.
Legal attorneys are always paying high for any kind of leads or any kind of traffic. Insurance, legal, insurance, financial, all of that. Yeah, very, very strong. But like you said, restoration companies, maybe mold remediation, those any type of emergency service as well.
Yeah, and the reason I bring up those emergency services because there's such an onus on quickly getting to someone on the phone, and they know the value of the lead. So some of these companies, they pay you big money. I mean, $50, $100, and so on. These CPA companies, when I told you I made all that money getting paid $14 a phone call, that's actually pretty low. I should have been charged a lot more, but I went through the networks, and it was all set up and it was all done, so it was easy in that sense. But
right.
If you get your mind around the fact, not so much that it's just a phone call, but you are hooking up a potential customer with a business, and you can show that through your phone calls, through your metrics, you can get paid for that.
Yeah. That's amazing. I remember hearing about pay per call and being intrigued by it, but I really didn't know how I would drive the traffic to it, and drive it inexpensively enough. And you know what? I remember way back in the early CPA days, there were a lot of courses and training about, hey, just go to Fiverr and these people will spread your flyers all over the place for $5. And you could have them like, I remember one guy that he had college students in different college towns, and he hired them on Fiverr to put his flyer on the desks, on all the college students' desks. And it was for like a credit card offer for students. Mm-hmm. And he just cleaned up because all these students were like, yeah, I want a credit card. And it wasn't pay per call, but they would go on their on the website while they're on their laptop. This is back then.
Yeah.
And he'd make money every single time that all they had to do was enter their name and email address, and he got paid. Right. Can you spend a little bit of time talking about CPA as compared to pay per call?
Well, yeah, I would say pay per call to a certain degree is kind of a derivative of CPA, at least in terms of those networks. But again, CPA is an action. What does a company want? So here's what a friend of mine did. This was crazy years ago. So I want to say, I don't know, 7 or 8 years ago, there was a point in time where a lot of people were installing toolbars on their, this is probably before Chrome, but let's say Explorer. And like the emoticons, the smileys were kind of a new thing. So this CPA network would pay you, let's say, $2 to have someone install a smiley extension of your toolbar, excuse me. Yes. Now, first of all, you might say, why would a company do that? Well, the reason why is that when that toolbar would go on your browser, they would be able to serve ads and stuff like that. behind the scenes, and people don't even realize what's going on. But that toolbar, these nice little smileys are actually popping up ads and so on. But people thought it was really cute. So a friend of mine started using Google and running ads for smiley toolbars, and he would sit there on his phone on that CPA network and just, we talked about this in the last video, and he would just refresh and refresh, and you'd see the thing go up $2, $2, $2, $2, and he was paying like 30 cents for people doing it at the time.
Wow.
At the time, it was no big deal because it was like, again, you have to think about this 7 or 8 years ago. People were like, oh, a toolbar with smile, I can put emoticons in my email and stuff like that. Now this is all kind of built into everything, but back then it wasn't. Like, you couldn't just get emoticons like that. And it was timing, it was beautiful. And in fact, here's what was crazy. He didn't even come up with that idea. There was a marketer. His name was, I remember his name. His name was Amish Shah.
Yeah, I remember that name.
Yeah, Amish Shah, and he did some big things. I mean, I'm sure he still is, but he did some big things with products and so on around that time. And he actually, did a video or something. It was in his email about him doing just that. And my friends just saw him do it, and he said, well, maybe I can try it. And he did it himself. And he had a good run there for a couple months, some big money. But the only issue with CPA is sometimes your offers can kind of come and go, and there's a lot of competition. So it seems like a lot of times, or it was for me anyway, once you started really ramping it up, it's like all of a sudden the offer went away.
Yeah.
And that kind of got a little frustrating. There was some other things I did one time with CPA marketing. This is when Netflix was just coming out, and they weren't even online yet. It was just when they just came online. It was more, they had DVDs in the mail. And Blockbuster, who was losing at that point in time, Blockbuster tried to make their own online version of Netflix. And they were paying, I forget the number, maybe $16 if you would sign up for Blockbuster. And I used a site called Mechanical Turk on Amazon. And I told people, I don't know what exactly I said, but basically I paid them $2 to sign up to Blockbuster. And so so I was only putting money out when I was getting the action I want. So I paid $2 and I was getting 16, and that just went like crazy. And then Mechanical Turk didn't like that. I don't think that was something that I should have been doing on their network. But the point was, I was getting in front of people that wanted to sign up. They wanted a free Blockbuster account, but little did they know that someone was being monetized that in the back end.
There was a middleman named James.
Yeah. And so I used to do a lot of stuff with CPA marketing, and that was another memorable one, was the Blockbuster. But a pay per call was just so beautiful to me because I didn't have to be known. When I put products and stuff out there, I got to put my name out there, and that's fine. That's great. But do they like me? Do they, that kind of stuff, my personality, they may or may not resonate with it. But when it's a phone call, it's like, it was beautiful because you're just like a ghost.
Yeah. You're just brokering traffic. We have a question from one of our viewers. Patricia asks, she says, interesting. How do you track attorneys' leads? For example, is it a fixed amount per lead or a percentage? So how do they track that this lead came from you?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, if you're working with a CPA network, they have it all behind the scenes. Like, and usually it's Ring Central is the company that does it. So they have like a whole bunch of net metrics, and they've already figured it out that they know. They've taken the time, they had the experience to know what a lead is worth to them. So a phone call on average, they're going to close every fifth person, and they're probably going to make $5,000 at the person. If we go through X amount of calls, we are willing to pay X to be profitable. That's how they kind of figure it out. If you're using one of these CPA networks, you're doing it yourself, you have to start to kind of learn about the industry. Maybe you reach out to someone, someone, or you say, what would you be willing to pay for a lead? Or I can get these phone calls. What are you willing to pay? And just keep shopping it around until you get the price that you want. But some of these companies, and it's numbers that might be staggering to us, but you say they'd be willing to pay $50 for a phone call. Heck yeah, when it's $30,000 that they're potentially making on the back end.
Exactly.
So that's what makes it beautiful. $50 may be a big deal to you for a phone call, but for some of these industries, $50, they're ecstatic to pay that amount.
Yeah.
I mean, it can cost more than $50 for a click on Google for these types of keywords. Insurance, you mentioned some other things. So for a phone call for $50, and I'm just pulling these numbers out of thin air, but the point is, a phone call, in my opinion, is worth way more than a click.
Right. Yeah. James, my experience with CPA has been quite different from yours. So I tried CPA a little bit here and there, but I just didn't know the places to get the cheap traffic, the cheap leads, and that kind of thing, to be able to broker the traffic. I love the idea. I love the concept, because it's even better than affiliate marketing in a way, in the way that as we said, we're not, a sale is not required in order for you to make money. Like
Right.
if I'm in the CPA game, there's a lot of offers out there that all they want is the person's name and email address, or just an email address. And when that person puts their email address into their website and you sent them there, you get paid $2, $5, $7 just for an email address, right? Or there's other ones that are called zip submits,
Right.
where if all they do is enter their zip code on the first page and then click the button, you get paid, because they know that for every, let's say, 10 people that enter their zip code, they're going to make X amount somewhere in their funnel. So the thing about CPA is that these are all companies that have well-developed funnels, and they know exactly, to like down to the dollar, how much that funnel is going to make when somebody enters the top of their funnel. And that's why they know the science and the metrics of how much they can afford to pay on the front end. Like, even for example, ClickFunnels, they do, when they offer a free plus shipping book, sometimes they'll do free plus shipping for like .com secrets. When that came out, they do free plus shipping. The shipping is like $9.95. So the consumer pays $9.95 for shipping, and yet ClickFunnels is willing to pay me, the affiliate, $10 or
Yeah.
$20, even though ClickFunnels did not make any money on that front end sale, because they know that somewhere in their funnel, they're going to make a big profit.
Or that in general, that's worth $40 to them. And so
Exactly.
many people are going to buy the final thing. So many people, but they know, hey, from our past experience and so on, that we're going to make $40 off this. So we're willing to potentially lose money. And that goes to your point on another video you had, where you were saying with the infomercial, they were losing money up front when they were selling the package for $29 or whatever for the eBay course.
Yep.
Again, knowing your numbers, it's a different kind of game, but that's how it works.
Yeah.
And it's interesting too, when you go into these CPA networks, they may pay so much, depending on what it is. They'll pay X amount for an American customer. They'll pay X amount for a Canadian customer, less or more for UK, and so on. Like, they even have it down to the country, how much they're willing to pay, which is kind of crazy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Even as seen on TV products and infomercial products have CPA offers as well, cost per action. So I've seen quite a variety of different products. I've always been fascinated by CPA. Never really made that much money. I mean, I made some money, but I cannot claim 26,000.
And hey, and in a weird way, 26,000 is actually, a small number. I mean, there's some people that they do $20,000 a day.
That's right.
And you don't
Yeah.
even know who these people are, and they're just, yeah. I feel like you and I know a lot about marketing, and we do, but in terms of like really interesting, intricate details of getting in front of people, like, you can talk about all kinds of different things, which we'll talk about in future episodes, like pop under traffic or PPV traffic, and all kinds of things, co-registration leads, and all these things. I'm kind of throwing out there.
Yeah.
You may or may not have heard. Some people are doing big numbers because, again, they know. And you even mentioned it yourself. Somebody was trying to do something, and they're putting it on college desks, or putting it on, going out and putting something on somebody's car. I'm not saying you need to go out and put papers on people's cars, but in the end, it's a matter of, how can you get in front of somebody? Can you get in front of them on their computer, their tablet, on their Roku device? Can you put a piece of paper in front of them? Can you go talk to them directly, call them? It's, in a sense, the medium doesn't matter. It's, are you getting in front of a person for them to do a certain action that money can be made of? And that in essence is what CPA is all about.
Yeah. And I think the real essence, excuse me, of CPA is, can I can I get a click for cheaper than they pay me? That's really the bottom line. Can I get a click for cheaper than they pay me? If you can, you win. And especially win if you can scale that up big. You reinvest your profits. That's how some of these guys get so big and do 20,000 in a day, is they find a formula that works with they run ads. Typically they buy media very, very cheap or very targeted. And then they're able to profit on those ads. And then they just reinvest it and build it, build it, build it. And what I love about it, CPA and affiliate marketing, is I don't have to deal with customers. I don't have to deal with refunds. I don't have to deal with returns. I don't have to deal with anything. All I'm doing is like punching keys on my computer. That's it. I'm arbitraging traffic, and it's amazing that way.
And for a lot of people, you know, I'm fairly comfortable, or I'd say pretty comfortable on camera now, and you know, a lot of people when I talk to them or they email me, they say I don't want to be on camera, and it is what it is. But something like CPA marketing is a potential viable thing for you to do if you don't want to be kind of the out in front person. It's something where, again, you can be behind the scenes and doing as little or as much as you want.
Yeah. Yeah. If you don't want to be the face of the business, then there's definitely ways. There's all different kinds of ways. And, you know, we're going to be highlighting all these ways in this channel at Entrepreneur Dojo. We're going to be showcasing things like CPA, affiliate marketing, e-commerce, agencies, even freelancing and things like that. So be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell to make sure that you get notified. Do you have any other kind of last minute thoughts about CPA and pay per call?
Yeah, I thought it was really fun. It's something that I want to get into again. My issue is that I tend to jump around from thing to thing, but part of it is why I enjoy it, and that's a big reason why I like the Entrepreneur Dojo, is that we can talk about all these things that we've been doing and looking at and partaking in for years, and it's exciting.
Yeah.
But it's another form of marketing. It's a huge thing, you know, the tip of the iceberg. You hear about CPA. Have you even heard of it? Do you even, you know, a lot of people watching this video may have never even heard of that. What is a CPA network? And then they're going to look it up. They type in CPA and it might say certified professional accountant. No,
Right.
CPA marketing. And then all of a sudden you start looking into it and you're like, oh my gosh, this is $1 billion industry that you potentially have never even heard of.
Didn't even know about, right? Yep.
Yeah, and it's doing, again, that's how Groupon was literally built, was through a CPA network initially.
Wow.
I've done big things with CPA. I know all kinds of people that have. It is a huge world, so it's something, you know, check it out. Might be a fit for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. And here's where you learn all about all this stuff that people haven't even heard of, right? But James and I, excuse me, James and I have both made money so many different ways online that we're here to help you, and we're here to help you fight for your dreams, fight for your future at the Entrepreneur Dojo. So we're building up masters, and we're building up, you know, ninja masters in the online marketing game. Totally excited to share these things with you guys. So I'm going to wrap it up here, James. And I just want to go ahead and Patricia says, man, I need a BFF like that. Someone who knows how to make 20,000 a day. Maybe
Well,
we can
thank you for your comment, and please, you know, thank you for being live. We really want people to be on here live with us to have a discussion like you just did today.
Yep.
Leave comments if you have thoughts on CPA marketing or other topics you'd like us to talk about. Please let us know. But of course, like and subscribe, because we're very dedicated to seeing this through and being here all the time with new content. And when you watch us, you're gonna see that this is amazing content, and tell your friends. Because we want to build this community and help as many people as we can.
Absolutely. We're building ninjas. We're building ninjas up at the Entrepreneur Dojo. So thank you, everybody, for joining me. Thanks, James, for sharing that experience. That's been amazing. And we'll be back tomorrow with some more exciting Entrepreneur Dojo topics. Maybe tomorrow I'll talk about how I sold drugs, how I sold legal drugs.
Yeah, clarify that.
Legal drugs on eBay. All right, everybody, have a good evening, and thanks so much.
All right, see you later.
Take care.